Hi, Erica.
Hey!
I was just doing a cute little bit to push people over here. I've been doing that gibberish filter a lot,
I know,
and
I saw that yesterday. I loved that.
yeah, people that have played games with me know I'm actually really good at that. So I used it. I used it to get the answer real quickly, and then tell people to come watch this.
Well, I appreciate you doing that because
Of
the more the
course,
merrier,
of
right?
course.
How are you? I like your glasses.
Thank you. I got them. I got them specially made. So I went on this really fun Europe trip
Mhm.
this summer, and I went to Ibiza, and I was going to this really fun party. It was like a '60s theme, and so at the restaurant I was at, they had this like little gift shop slash sex shop, and in the gift shop section, I got these really cool glasses, but they had this color tint. However, they weren't this shade. It was like they almost looked like Elton John meets Clockwork Orange. It was like too much. Like it was
Yeah,
too much of a Luke.
yeah.
And so I got these special made. I got these. I picked these frames out of Vancouver, and they just put
Well,
the
they're
lens from
very
you.
sexy, honey. They're very sexy because full sexual expression is full creative expression.
Exactly. I just want to look half as good as it feels, because honestly, it's not so much about the fashion statement as it just makes everything look that much better.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
does,
Rose-colored glasses.
quite literally.
Yeah, quite literally.
Yeah.
Amazing. It looks nice there today. Is
It
it
is.
warm
It's
out?
nice. It's actually a gorgeous day, which I don't know. I feel guilty sometimes a little bit for celebrating all the good that we got going on amidst all the obvious bad.
I understand.
Um, but then again, like in my own individual situation, like it doesn't suck that it's beautiful out today, and it does suck that I can't. I'm limited. So I guess I get both sides of it.
And I think I mean, I've said this multiple times on my Instagram that it's like, misery doesn't need company. It needs
That's
hope.
right.
It needs light. So,
That's
like,
right.
people who are out there enjoying themselves and spreading that, like last night when I was watching your Instagram, like, you make me laugh, And it's
Then
like,
my work
you
here is
want to
done.
bring joy to
Yeah.
people's lives. So I think that's super important to enjoy yourself and be happy so that you can spread that to others.
It's infectious. Like the cool thing, I'm sure we'll get into like all the piano playing that I've recently been doing,
Mhm.
but it started as just a complete like singular moment and a personal expression that I was actually sharing on the phone with my friend Bobby. And
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, let me just like record this real quick. And then my parents are like, my parents are like, you should put that up. It sounds so pretty. And I did Willy Wonka's Pure Imagination, and then I just started getting ideas, and then it was my own little journal that I was just
Yeah.
making public.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw you did the Louis Capaldi one that you posted today. I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's so beautiful too to take. First of all, your voice is amazing, and obviously, most of you have seen Pitch Perfect. But it's like how powerful your own voice is. But when you take the creation of other people too, it creates that unity and light.
right.
So it's like you're combining creation of other people. It creates community, and then people can enjoy it and interpret it in a different way, which I also think is super powerful,
Yeah. I'm a big fan in life and in music, of course, of synchronicity. And
Yeah.
like moments like that where it's just like a particular time of the night, it's a certain chord progression, it's a certain
Mhm.
thing a lot of times. And if people have like been watching my stuff closely, which I don't make people do, you'll see that like there have been some like I don't want to say improvements, but I think developments in the way I've been playing and the way I've been even like singing.
Yeah.
And it's this philosophy I have with acting that I'm practicing even more with my music, which is that like anytime you make a mistake or like hit like a little like half note, an in betweener,
Yeah.
it's your kind of responsibility and job to make the next thing sound that much better, and to not from like a spiteful, vengeful kind of a place, but from like an opportunist place,
Yeah,
like
or in an acceptance place. An
right.
acceptance of being like, you know what, yeah, I just kind of messed that one up. How can I, like, not improve, but like take the next moment and do what I'm trying to do or a better version of it?
Right. I
Yeah.
can't remember when it was. I don't know if it's a video. I think it actually is a video that I posted that I literally was like, and I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to keep going. Because it's like, that's like every artist YouTuber, influencer, whatever they do when they're making their own content. And we all do it. We like to pretend like they're everyone's first take, and sometimes they are. And by the way, with this piano thing, it's become more and more. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, but that's pretty much it, or else I'll just walk away, because I don't want it to feel like too rehearsed or anything. And it's clear that I'm reading, but anyway, it's those moments in performance. And I've learned that from theater and live performance, that you're like, you don't get to do what you just messed up again. So what are you going to do moving forward, or in the present, more importantly?
Yeah, and how are you going to show up right now?
Exactly.
And like keep moving forward, and that's everything in life. That's like that's a message for life, a way to live life in general. Is like there's nothing we can do about that circumstance. It's like, now what's next? How do I show up now in this moment and keep moving forward?
How do you show? It's a perfect metaphor, because how do you show up for yourself? How do you show up for your spouse, your family? How many times have we in relationships made mistakes, and you know what? Like, I'm sorry, honey, I didn't call. That was messed up. You probably were worried. And now what am I going to do? And I think that
better next time.
Right. And exactly, because I think the needle to thread there is not the bouquet of roses. And I've fallen into that habit, actually, in the past. It's like the love language of giving gifts. And I think it's like,
when you know better, do better. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, what you don't know, you can't fix. And I think that a lot of times is one of those things where it's like, in order to know better, you have to have learned that lesson. And sometimes that happens through mistakes, like you wouldn't know unless you had made the mistake. So like using that time, and going, now I know better, so now I'm going to do better too.
Yeah. My favorite philosophy in acting and in life is don't be afraid to make a mistake. And no one knows that more than theater people. Yeah. It just is. There are some film and TV people, a very small amount, but I've worked with a few that they've never been worried about making a mistake, because they're always covered by the editor, they're always covered by the cinematographer, the director, their scene partner. It's a luxury that by the way, I'll stop myself mid-take if I know I don't want to hand over this take to the post-production, because they might pick it. But something has to be going wrong. Something has to be feeling really, really not truthful for me to like halt myself. Not just because like I wasn't obsessed with the way I just said that line. Shut up, get over it. It's a scene. Plenty more lines.
Yeah. It's like, but in those uncomfortable moments and those scenes where you mess up, it's like those are the growing moments,
Right.
Like at the edge of our uncomfortableness or getting out of our comfort zone is the growth. So like when you mess up, like that's what makes you better. If you stay in your comfort zone all the time and you're never messing up, you're never getting better, Exactly. And if we aren't growing, then we're dying, because there's literally no in between in life. It's like nothing, very minimal things are neutral, like nothing's really neutral. It's either taking you forward or taking you backwards. So like using those mistakes to like grow and get to the next level.
Right. Yeah. That fear definitely has, it halts longevity. So, and it's such a like easier said than done thing, as if you and I haven't had our own trauma, our own emotional things that we deal with, our own like daily obstacles. So, this isn't any preaching. I think more just preaching to the choir that like we all have, insecurities. We all have, self-doubt, and it's just managing that. And people always ask me, like, probably every single interview, at least for this most recent project I've been working on, like, do you get nervous for the big numbers? Yeah. And it's really interesting how that's the most common question. And favorite karaoke song, and what's your favorite song you did on the show, and do you think Max and Zoe will wind up together?
Well, I think everyone gets nervous though, right? For something in life. Like, it's like, I got nervous for this today. I'm like, okay, gotta show up and like be my best self.
Right.
But one of those things where it's like, that is life. You can't be comfortable all the time. You know?
I think it's about like it's like I've found that the training that I have, that I've given myself is like the training to turn nerves and anxiety into focus and energy. Absolutely. And like being backstage at a show and having a couple tools, just like emptying your breath out. Just be like, let me just get rid of everything that's going on here and just blow it out. I said that today. I was like, Get it out.
Okay, now I can take a deep breath in, and I have oxygen in my brain, and now I can get on here and like think clearly.
Because a lot of times, especially in a play or a musical, half that opening number is you like figuring out like what this Wednesday night show is going to be, and like what's happening in the second row, and like what's happening in your grocery mind, and like so those breaths and those little moments. And then again, I've seen people completely remain in their own head for the entire show, which is a detriment in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, I played tennis, you know that obviously, but it's like the times that I was at my best was when I was in the moment. If I was in my head, worried in fear about what was happening next, like there were times I couldn't hit a backhand because I was in so much fear. Where it's like if I was just there and like present in the moment, like that muscle memory is there. Like we know what we're doing. It's like you just got to get out of your mind first in order to be there to perform. But if you're not present to perform, you can't perform.
Yes, it's a lifelong practice until it becomes something that you really fully understand, and it'll ebb and flow, and sometimes you'll grapple with it, and sometimes you'll freaking dominate it. And like I'm the same way in like I feel like basketball, any like sports like that like there's a sweet science to a jump shot or a layup, for Christ's sakes. Like I can eat an ice cream cone and one hand hit a layup, but maybe if I'm on a fast break with an open net with both hands, I might miss that open layup in a game, and everyone's laughing at that freaking loser who just missed an open layup. Meanwhile, there are other games where I have a hot hand and I'll want that ball. Like one of those real basketball players who's like, no, give me the ball. I'm shooting because I'm making this. There's no other and those are those feelings when you're just in your body, you're in your legs are churned. And so I think active warm-ups in sports and in performance and in speaking and in teaching and whatever that is, that if there's something where you have to channel and be your best self, I think some sort of an active warm-up up here, a physical
visualization. You see that a lot of amazing basketball players, tennis players, actors, you visualize the performance happening before it happens, because what happens is you send gratitude and love and you picture it going well. Your body doesn't know and mind don't know the difference between what's happening right now and what's happening in the future. So you start to perform that act now within your mind, and you can actually step into that person and into that identity a lot easier than if you're living into the fear part, which again, your body doesn't and mind don't know the difference between now and the future or what you're thinking. So it's like if you're thinking negatively, your body thinks that's happening now. If you're thinking positively, it thinks it's happening now. So the visualization part is so important too.
I agree. I think that visualization is really important, and making sure that it never errs on the side of obsession, because I have a lot of fighter friends, friends that fight in a ring or a cage, and visualization is one of the biggest parts of some camps I know, and what that also does is protect you, because like some visualizations you don't win the fight. So now you're prepared to lose. You're prepared to be in a sticky situation. You're prepared to be on your back. You're prepared to be losing the fight. And what does that look like? So I feel like, it's preparation. It's preparation. And then the room to throw it all away and make room for improvisation. I think that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely. I love that without obsessing. That's a great point, because we all have a tendency to do that sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, if you're visualizing every day and you're not present at the dinner you're at, or you're not even focusing actually on the training or your drills or your sparring session, whatever it is, or if it's layup drills or if it's vocal lessons, like then you're not actually singing or shooting or fighting or playing.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, let's just talk a little bit. The reason I wanted to do this was because I love how we can take dark times and people can take dark times and turn them into a positive time. A lot of creativity can come from darkness, and you see that a lot of the biggest artists in the world have been in very painful times and like come out the other side, and like they've made beautiful work throughout the midst of those times,
Right.
So I always say, like, a lot of you can find your passion in pain. So, and not that you're in pain right now, but like, I wanted to say, like, what are you doing right now? Obviously your followers know that you're singing a lot, but what are your days looking like? What are you doing?
They're surprising. Like, they're honestly filling up. and I have 1,100 square feet to do it. So it's not like I'm like in some big Hollywood mansion. I don't know why. You know, the typical stuff. Reconnecting with my family has been unbelievable. You know, my family, they're incredible.
Are they in New York or?
They're in New York, which is really hard for all of us. Me, because I just feel terrible. Them, because it's hard. They have these teeny little, you know, railroad apartments and not a lot of natural light, no outdoor space like I have, and it's harder on some than others, and I have so much. I would trade places with all of them, I would really rather be with them in a big nice place, but you know, I'll take what I could get there. Yeah, I'll take what I could get there, but yeah, I mean, I made a nice distinction. So like when I found out the NBA was canceled,
yeah,
I was like,
husband is one of the bench coaches for the Warriors, and I mean, he's loving it. He's just hanging out. I feel like
sure.
He's made for quarantine.
Right. And by the way, that's exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's an important distinction between the pandemic and the quarantine and the isolation and the self-distancing and stuff. So it's like once we can just like completely identify this awful pandemic that has stuff, properties about it that make it pure evil. The fact that it's so contagious, the fact that that 10-day incubation period is quite literally what like that's what evil is made of, because people are literally spreading sickness around. Anyway, everybody
know. It's the blind spots that they don't know.
It's so terrifying. It literally is like the third definition of fear in the dictionary is what's going on, is that fear of the unknown part, and so that's terrifying and undeniable. Then when you put that in its own obvious category and you start to think about what isolation and and taking away like our family and friends that might be being diagnosed or in fear of being diagnosed, all that, and it's just isolation, and it's the quarantining, and it's what all that means to the human condition and us as individuals, couples, families, friendships that you now are cultivating more like as if it's high school. Talking to a friend on the phone for 3 hours and be like, holy shit, we've been talking for 3 hours. You know, it's like, when's the last time? My brother, my whole family they all have a really great work ethic, but my younger brother, I can't mention, I'm like my mother, I can't mention one without being like, they're all amazing. But like, particularly Milan, who you know, my younger brother, he is a very hard worker, and he's working at Quality Meats in New York, and he's the sous chef there. I mean, he's got food on the menu, his dishes, and he is one of the hardest workers. On his days off, he's going to the fish markets in Brooklyn and getting the uni that was promised to him and making his own creations in his apartment with his paycheck. Like that's Milan, and almost to a flaw.
Time to still channel that energy into something that he loves, is a passion of his. Which is
exactly. And so now he's like, I am home. I have 7 roommates in Brooklyn, and they're all not there, thankfully, because some have gone home. But he's making the most of it, man. He's turned like one of his friends' like place into a little yoga like studio, is like the small bedroom. He moved some stuff over, and he's doing what he can. And he said the same exact thing to me. He's like, dude, I think I'm gonna come out of this like stronger mentally, physically. He's like, I mean, I'm in great shape. What else do I have to do? but also brain wise, the guy never took a vacation. He never, like, he doesn't use any of those days. So I think like people like that, my older brother's starting to think about, like, you know, he can't do his fashion show he was supposed to have. So it's like, well, what do I do with that brand? And like, what are my clothes saying? Like, how cool is that my brother's actually, my older brother now, is even after 10 plus years of being a designer, having how many fashion shows in New York, going, okay, but like, what do my clothes do for people's lives? And then how can I talk about that? And like, he and I are going to sit down on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about some of my favorite menswear things, some toys I have, some fun lifestyle stuff. So like, I don't know.
To that next layer, that next step. Like, now, you know, it's evolved to this, but now how can we bring it to the next step? Like, how can we make it people, like, speak to people in a different way, which is
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're not somebody, who wants to be a spreader of the good, because you're like, dude, I need to work on myself. Like, I'll worry about
That's
inspiring
fine too.
millions later.
Yeah.
That's most important.
Yeah, well,
Is that
I always say that too. It's like we can't change a community without first changing an individual. You have to start with yourself. So if you have shit to work on at home, stay home and work on your shit, because
That's right.
nothing's scarier, like I said earlier, than the stuff that we don't know about ourselves. And right
Yeah.
now is the perfect time to see that stuff, come up. Like the more anxious you are, fearful, scared, scarce, whatever it is, it's like that is so magnified right now.
Right.
So you need to sit with it and look at what's going on with yourself. Like, absolutely start with you, because you can't give from an empty cup. You just
Correct. Yeah, exactly. I like that. And people, like, I'm sure roommate situations, living situations, like I was saying, and then I wonder how many of those types of people or even relationships distract themselves with travel, with dinners, with going out all the time, and we're just a couple that we see each other once a week and it kind of works for us. And it's like, okay, well, what if you had to spend 7 or 6 days together?
Yeah.
Because that's life.
That's society, though. It's like adrenaline driven, like we're
Right.
constantly filling the void with all the physical stuff. So it's like events and dinners and travel, and it's
And
like
nails, and yeah.
Yeah, and Glennon Doyle, she always says it's like a snow globe, like everything inside of our head is all shaken up, and then the snow finally settles and we can see the truth of who we are. And like if we let the snow settle, which we have to right now, it's like
Correct.
you can see real clearly how you're feeling your time. Like, how often are you opening the fridge and eating the food? Like, is that how you're filling your void? How much are you drinking? I mean, watching TV, numbing yourselves, and it's like,
Right.
Taking this back to you, though, it's like you're using this time and you're really like, you're singing and the piano, and it's like, this is a positive way of utilizing the time, or the way that your brother is utilizing the time and looking at his line. And I'm like writing a lot, so it's like, how can we utilize some of the darkness, some of the stuff that's inside of us, to really like give to others if we have the capacity to do so. And I always say this, and I got this from Angela Davis in LA. She always said, too much is given, much is required. And so I feel like if we are healthy right now and we feel good and like we have something to offer, now's the time.
Right,
Now's the time. Like, if I can get on your Instagram and feel like inspired by you, or you make me laugh, like, that's fucking great.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, if you've been given the gift of health, or given the gift of an amazing voice, or whatever it is, it's like, now's the time that you can give back to others.
Right. My philosophy on that, and I think the reason why it's gone the way it has, is because I tend to never, whether I'm selling a show or playing or writing a song, I never want to work from the outside in. I don't subscribe to that. I like it to come from a real place. So again, this was just a fully individual thing. Since probably the first Pitch Perfect came out, there was always, every live or interview or anything, it's like, album. When will there be an album? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not quite sure what genre yet. I've written songs in a bunch of them. And I even had this cuckoo idea to like do one song. Every song is like a different genre. So some will be a Khalid type of sounding song. Then maybe it'll be like a Bruce Springsteen piano type of I'm on Fire type of song. I don't know. Like, why does it have to be an acoustic album? Why can't there just be, acoustic songs on it? Yeah. So again, so it's all about, so while my album will undoubtedly be for the masses and for people, it has to be for me first. So like just like me tinkering around on my piano, it was for me first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I should do something.
Well, that's the truth of who you are too.
Right. Right.
Like you can't give, it has to be you. Your gift. Your gift can't be others' gifts, like, or a reflection of what they need. You have, like you said, it has to come through you. That's what you have to offer.
That's exactly right. I found that out. If I was just like, God, I have so many things to offer. I should just, like, what if I had a show where, and now this is where I'm operating from. It's like this like fun manipulation tactic of like, because people love this show and people love these things. So what if I put those together and made my thing? And that's constant out here. And by the way, who can blame anyone for trying to pander and to cater to audiences and to demographics? That awareness is still there. I'm not going to make some obscure show that has nothing to do with my abilities and the voice I have. However, again, I'm such a Libra, but like, it's all about the balance, you know, for me. It's just like, it's got to come from a truthful place. And there's the awareness of like, I think people will like this. And I think that this is something worth sharing.
Totally. And I think a lot of times we tend to self-abandon to belong, but what ends up happening when you stay authentic and true to yourself, the right people, the situations, the right followers, the right whatever it is will come to you and really stay, because it's a true, genuine union of two people who are authentic and connected on a deeper level. It's not just some facade that's being played.
Right.
You know?
Okay. And now, like, furthering to that point, I've had this kind of interesting philosophy that's only gotten more sophisticated through like doing art. Even in school, I wasn't very good in history, and I happened to be good in things that had more understanding and less memorization. So even though I memorize lines for a living, I always tell this to my mom too, if I'm teaching her an app. Like, we all teach our parents how to use an app, you know? But I was like, I'm not going to tell you go to the right-hand button, the upper right-hand corner, and then you have to click this, because then you're memorizing what to do. I want you to understand how it works. If you understand it, then you can answer any question. So now I have this series on Instagram called Home Keys, and I can field requests. I have cousins, I have people texting me, hey, my favorite song, I've been listening to this, and I listen to all of them and I put them on the list, but I have the answer to it. And because I just know what it is, and I know what I try to do with each song, and like, I never want to like hit it on the nose too hard. I'm not going to sing Heal the World.
Yeah.
You know, even though I love that song from Free Willy, but like, it's on the center of the nose right now. And it's not that it's not clever or creative. I just don't actually know if that would be tasteful fully. I don't know if I'm healing the world. But maybe I want to say that I want to dance with somebody right now. I think a lot of people have that feeling.
And
you know,
it
I think
keeps
so.
it interactive and fun and light, which is more true to who you are. You know?
Right. So again, there it is. I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm doing. And I love you, Mom, or I love you, Cousin Adam, or like, I love that punk song, or I love that. But like, you know, also the piano, and I would love to do Sondheim, but like, I'm going to do Sondheim on a stage.
Yeah.
You know?
That's you staying true to yourself, you know,
Right.
and then it's more authentic, and then also people connect to that. You're like, yeah, I want to dance with you. Okay, great. Like, that's how you're feeling right now.
Fun.
That's authentic. People feel that energy too, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can always tell when someone's being like not totally themselves or uncomfortable or like not fully in their skin versus when somebody is like in their truth and they're confident and they walk out there and you're like, you believe them because they believe themselves.
Yeah,
like,
I can follow that person anywhere.
People. Yeah.
It's
So
inspiring.
Exactly.
It's inspiring. It is, for lack of a better term, contagious.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, that we could use that word good sometimes too. Laughter can
ripple effects.
Exactly. Laughter could be contagious. I was just listening to Ripple from the Grateful Dead song Ripple. Do you know that song?
I don't know
that song. It's a good one.
If my mom is on here, I'm pretty sure she knows that song.
I was actually going to play again, and by the way, about this Home Keys thing, like I did Louis Capaldi, Rihanna, Whitney, my own songs. I have a bunch of songs that I discovered this little notebook that my dad actually made, because I mean, it's Starter, but my dad used to like design like school supplies for Starter. So I've had this since I was 17. And like here, this first page is like a song that I wrote when I was literally 17. And then I had a song I wrote yesterday in the back. So I've been playing that and revisiting old ones.
Did we get to hear that at some point?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I wasn't actually planning on it, also because I'm not warmed up, but I'll play a little something.
Yeah, play a little something. Why not?
I can see that. By the way, this is so funny.
What I'm talking about, taking a dark time and turning it into something, creating something from it.
Right. This is so funny though, because oh my God, every time I turn a page, I see another song, and I've literally been doing. I just saw this song called "Home with Me." I'm not gonna play it because I would need to like, but I see the chords. Wake up, I call you. Swear to God, I've literally not seen this in over a decade. Without a care. That's why I'm not sure why I'm doing this on the internet. Thank God I found you. You will always see me there. I actually wasn't gonna play this. I was gonna play another one, but
Yeah, that happened to me earlier. I'm like,
yeah. Okay. This is actually funny, but I can't believe I rarely have the chords written down. This is so silly.
Yay, Skylar! Woo! On the fly performance here.
But how funny that it's called Home With Me. Can you see it says Home With Me?
Yeah, that's amazing.
My handwriting's not only
those synchronicities. Those
right?
Synchronicities.
And I was just looking for another thing. I was like, what's this one?
Yeah.
Wake up, I call you without a care. Thank God I found you. You will always see me there. Put on some coffee. I brush my teeth. I feel you with me. You're the secret that I keep. I wonder how this is gonna go. Finally, not enough is enough to finally see. Now I gotta write a chorus, and these lyrics look cheesy as fork.
You didn't know that unless you did it, though.
Don't want to fly without you. Come on, can't let me be. Although don't want to fly without you is kind of eerily weird. I don't know what the melody would be though. I can make one up. Don't want to fly without you. These are the chords. Cannot let me be. You have found your true love. You're the only one I see. But then how would the hook go? Want you to come home with me. I gotta work on that, but I'll maybe put that out.
You
this
should.
I don't know why I can't survive without you. Here is a lie. I'm doing fine without you. Here's one more lie. I haven't thought about you, although I try. I keep remembering all the this is chicken scratch. Feelings I had to hide. Da, 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 da. Yes, so I may be alright, let me down. Alright, send me now. Take me away from the storm that I'm facing for you. Wrote that. So yeah, I have a bunch.
It's so great.
One more, because this one's cute. No, but that's a different song. I just met you. Well, it's been a year so far. No, not that one. Where's the other? I can't find things. This is truly the weirdest.
You're creating so much.
No, but it's so funny when I'm looking for a specific song. There's a song that I'm passing right now called My Bar Mitzvah's Tomorrow that I wrote at NYU. It's like a little musical theater song. It's like a Charlie Brown.
I love that.
Every time a Jewish boy turns 13. This is before the musical 13 by Jason Robert Brown, but by the way, religion says you're no longer a boy. And you, of course I don't have the chords written, chant, and you chant your Haftorah. How would it chant? This is why I practice. Chant your Haftorah proudly as your family looks on. But I didn't study, I did not. I'm still stuck on line 1 and my bar mitzvah's tomorrow. What a crazy thing, my bar mitzvah's tomorrow. What is happening? Now what is this? That might be. I gotta figure out these chords because that's so upsetting. But it would go, And I look like such a clown, what will my family have to say? But I feel like I'm reading upside down, not to mention it goes the wrong way. Whatever, so stupid. Maybe I'll put it out for real.
But I think it's great. It's like you're taking real stories from your life and then you're creating a song out of it. It's
right.
You know, well, that's what inspires people. Real life, authentic stories, and then you have a lesson from it that you've learned.
Right. You know? I always love a song that like ends in a different place than it began. Stephen Sondheim, the genius of that. A lot of even musical theater songs, they will return to the scene of the crime exactly. They'll be like, and that's it, boom, and they're like back in the same place, and you're like, what did we learn? And you don't always have to do that, but like it's nice when it does. But a little bit more context to that song. So I was a freshman at NYU musical theater department, and Alex Brightman, who's now Tony nominated multiple times, he was in Beetlejuice, School of Rock, insanely talented writer, performer. We were in the same class, and we just got a little assignment over Christmas break. They were like, write something that could go in a musical. It could be a scene, it could be like an explanation of something, but just do something. And I wrote a full song on this piano in New York at my parents' house when it was there properly, and Alex sang. I played it for our class, and Alex got up there, and every time a Jewish, like fully, and wailing in the rafters, because it's a little, you know, kid tenor song. So
I think it's time for the world to see that one.
It's a good one. It's cute. It's funny. I mean, I gotta remember the breakdown. Of course, I'll. There's like kids backing them up in like Hebrew while he's like, my bar mitzvah, my bar mitzvah. It's like full on that. It's like good. And it was going to be that was a song from my terrible, horrible teenage years, the musical.
Those were some tough years, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
The teenage years. Grateful to be out of those.
Yeah.
Out of the college ones too, to be honest. The 20s were a little bit tough as well.
Right. Yeah. We had moments, right? And I feel like, so I feel like what's interesting about this kind of stuff, and like, I'm getting that like Skylar ADD, the good ADD that I have, where I like still want to keep telling you more about this song.
Yeah.
And the feeling, if I wasn't on the phone with you, would just be internal, and it would be like cycling through, and then I would be playing through it. I would maybe repurpose a lyric or two and maybe record it for my family and maybe even put it online. And like, that's how that would happen. And so not everybody can play piano, not everybody can sing, but like journals. You know, if you're in your hometown, like take a look at like what you were thinking back then. I wonder if it lines up with how you're thinking now. Maybe there's just different like vocabulary, but like you're saying the same thing, and that you're worried and that you're scared and that you want to be accepted and that you want to be liked and that you want to be okay and that you want to be healthy, or whatever that is, or that you want love or you want acceptance.
Tend to replay themselves if we don't look back at them, you know?
It's hard.
It's great
scary.
To reflect on who we were and who we are now, but you do see that it just things tend to, you know, come up in a similar way in a different fashion as we get older, and you know, but also going back to that acceptance portion, I think it's like you still know that you have maybe some of the same things, but like you accept it about yourself a little bit more.
Exactly.
And then when you do that and you accept it a little bit more, you can create with it and you can like give back with it, because we all have stuff, we all have flaws, we all have fears, but it's that person who can keep going through all of this stuff, you know, because if you let it stop you, then you're just stuck, you know, and it's the perfect time to just keep moving through everything and honor those parts of yourself and be okay with it. The 13-year-old that's still in there at times, you know?
Absolutely. And yes, it's so important to do this, and nobody wants forced reflection. Like that's not how it's supposed to happen. I'm sure when you went to Bali, like they weren't like, so anytime you reflect, make sure someone's holding your hand to the fire. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's not how I wanted to do it. But hey, we're here. So now what? So like now we're here, and we know we're here for at least another month. And I'm going to be, I think, a little bit conservative even when we're let out, to whatever extent that is. I think patience, staying creative, staying calm, and maybe having to have the hard conversations with yourself and go like, because I while it might be very hard to be like, oh my God, like 11-year-old Skylar, you know, it might be scary to be like, oh my God, I haven't changed much.
Yeah.
I thought I'm this whole different person. And I said that same thing to my therapist that I just wrote when I was 10 or whatever. Or maybe it's the exact opposite. And you go, wow, that's exactly who I've always been.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And now I know that, like, or how about this beautiful moment? And of course, there's hundreds of these hypotheticals, but like, what if you're looking through your journal and it's same old, but then something that you said to yourself back then is something you needed to hear right now.
Absolutely.
Something even just like, but mom says it's all going to be okay. Or like, but my teacher said that like you get more bees with honey, or whatever that is that you need to hear today, April 19th, 2020. I can't believe I even know it's a Sunday. Or is it 420? What is it? What is today? Who cares, obviously, but like whatever it is, I should have just gone with whatever I was saying at first, which is like, who knows that today in this moment, however we're counting the time, that we individually needed to see something from our past or something from our own clarity.
It's like anything, you know, you can read something over and over again, but there are those times where you would, like the 100th time you've read it, you're like, oh, I feel it in my bones this time for some reason it landed. And I always say that in terms of like having faith or spirituality or any sort of journey. It's like there were people along your way that were giving you little hints about where you were supposed to be going or what you were doing, but like there's always that one person that sticks out. You're like, but when they said it, it landed, you know.
And what if that person is you?
Yeah.
What if that person's not your yoga teacher or your shaman, and it's actually
you
just
heard
like
it. You heard it. So you were ready to hear it, and it came to you from somewhere. So it's you. Yeah, it's within you.
I'm a big fan of that inner 12-year-old. I let him out all the time. That sounds creepy, but it's the exact opposite. I think about this moment fondly. Might get a little potty humor, literally, but like when I was like in my bathroom, my childhood bathroom, that's when I thought the most. I don't know why. It's this window that I had, and I would look out the window, and we were living in the valley of New York, of the suburbs, and I would look out in the mountains. I would just like think about my future, and I would think about like life. And I'm talking about like at 7. You know, this is like to me at 7, I'm just like looking at mountains. But like I know what I was doing now. And so reconnecting with who that was and why that was is really important, and it'll keep you humble. It'll keep you yourself, and I think that like it'll put things into perspective.
And I also think, you know, a lot of times some of us, at least I used to do this, I'd look back at certain things that happened in my childhood or that 12-year-old version of myself and like look at the bad things that came from it, or like certain things that really hurt me at that time as a kid, you know. And then you look at those things and you go back to that time and you realize like, wow, that made me really strong, or that made me very independent, or that made me like be able to read a room really well and like very in tune with other people's emotions. And so looking back at those times that you think that hurt you when you were a kid and going, well, look at how much like the positive that came out of that too, you know. And then when you start to go that direction and realize that you've learned a lot from all of the whole compilation of your life, like those are those aha moments where you're like, holy shit, I wouldn't be where I am right now if it weren't for X, you know?
Yes. Those inciting moments. I mean, do you ever get to in your head and like think about like, well, if I didn't go to that one thing, then I wouldn't have even thought makeup was cool. And then I wouldn't have even started doing makeup. And now I'm this like groomer on the top of my game who's done everyone under the sun. Like, do you ever think about those like little moments? Like for me, my moment is my mom taking me to my first audition when I was like, acting's weird. I just like going. I like playing piano. I don't know about the play. Yeah. And now my favorite thing in the world is to put on a play.
Yeah, I think it's incredible when you like every defining moment, like tennis, when that career ended, and then all of a sudden I was like the sorority girl, you know, but like how that opened up my life in so many different ways, and I made all these friends who I'm still like so close to, and then I worked at UTA, which is where we first met.
That's right.
And like, you know, like that opened up a whole different doorway, and it was like all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I love hair and makeup, and like I can actually do that career, you know. Now I feel like I have connections, and then that tumbled into one thing, and then now I'm like life coaching and doing all these other writing and doing all these other things because like my spiritual journey made me realize that like I was more fulfilled when I was working on the mental spiritual portion of life. So it's like how every single thing leads to the next thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
But then again, like how being that assistant at UTA and being a groomer and being a sorority girl is also like a humongous indelible part of your history that has made you who you are, and like even better for what you're doing now. And
yeah,
so it's not just like it's like leading you to it, but it's also like those are chapters, important ones that like you that will be with you forever. No one could ever take away your history.
Yeah, and like ones that I look back on really fondly. Like I said, it's like there's so much that I learned throughout every phase of my life, and I'm sure you feel the same way. And it's like, you know, if that one thing hadn't happened, like how would I have gotten to this place? Like moved from LA to New York. Like every single thing helps your whole entire life unfold.
Right. My dad coached me a lot in sports. He was an amazing coach, and he always, like all my childhood friends could tell the 3 rules of Barry Lipstein baseball. It's game situation, which is like what's going on, how many outs, how many strikes, what's going on, who's up, anyone on base. Game situation, what do I do if I catch it, and what do I do if I miss it? Mm-hmm. And those are applicable to more things than you can imagine.
Yeah.
When I'm backstage at the Hollywood Bowl and I'm about to do recitative Sondheim that is talking a mile a minute, and if I miss a word, I miss the whole play's over.
Yeah.
You know, and if I zero in on that, I'll make that mistake. But if I think about, all right, but you know, I know what's happening. I know I got Sutton here. I know I got props. I know where we're going. I can recover. If I catch it, it's gonna be great. If I miss it, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you could apply that specifically to certain scenes and certain lines and certain things, but it's just the state of mind. It's just like knowing that it's okay. It's leaving opportunity for it not to always be in your control.
Yeah, you're either learning or you're winning.
That's right.
Literally, there are no losses in life, and I think if you can start to look at it like that, like everything is to either learn or grow, then you know you can take the harder things in life and you can move forward and recognize that you'd be bored if it was always the same. Like these are the moments that like make us get out of our comfort zone and get to the next level of our lives. So
right. I mean that's I found that especially even in my career, there have been like roles I haven't gotten that I was upset about at the time that led me to either another role or I'm like, you know what, he's better for it. Like I now like it as an audience member more with him doing it or yeah, I like my pitch better, but you know what, I'll do something else. I don't know. And by the way, there's just like that thought of completely letting it go with like career and rejection and things like that. And then there's just like times where like I was like the guy for this NBC pilot. It was like me. It was me, like nobody else. And they just had to put me against somebody else just because, you know, as you know, they like to present 2 people. Yeah. And they picked the other person.
Yeah.
And then I got my first sitcom the next day from that exact showrunner who was like, you know what, man, I actually have something I like more for you. And I was thinking about it and I didn't want to say anything, but now we have this cool opportunity to make it together. And I really actually like that role and that project and that cast, I think a little bit more than the thing I was even initially up for.
Yeah.
And I could have been Mr. Pitch Perfect and Mr. Offer Only and Mr. You know, I don't want to fight for it. And I fought and I learned.
Yeah. And I think that is always what happens. It's like what is meant for you will end up showing up. But it's like right. You just have to have faith that it's on the other side.
Mm-hmm. I used to feel very like in fear of being pigeonholed because I'm the singing guy, right? And like, I don't think that at all anymore.
Yeah.
Because I actually know so much more about myself than people probably realize or people think. And I've even started to do it in certain roles. Something I did over the summer, there's some contemporaries, some directors I've known for years, big directors who always thought I'm that guy who's like the boy next door, who plays the love interest and is a boyish. And They saw me play a real leading man role with real heartbreak and loss and depth. And they were like, I had no idea. And I was like, I did.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you are who you identify with too, and sometimes it takes other people to see that, but as you continue to step into your own identity, other people will see you that too. It's goes back to the confidence thing. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm confident. This is who I am. Eventually, people will see that. You just have to continue to, believe that about yourself.
Absolutely. And it's a hard thing to manifest. It takes years. Like, guys, like I've struggled with things and anxiety, depression. I've had a therapist on a weekly basis, and now I see her kind of whenever I need her. And so it comes and goes, like, but I've hit a decent stride and I'm happy with it. And I feel like I can talk very openly about those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I see that for you. And I'm really impressed with just like how well you're doing. You're just an inspiring person, and I love seeing your happy face.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this with me today.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. But, I can't wait to see your journey and watch it progress.
Same to you. I love you, and tell your family hi for me.
I will. All
right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Erica.